Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, I got a super fun and exciting episode for you guys today, because if you missed the previous video, I've been talking a lot about the Fatal Frame Decompilation project, as well as a work-in-progress PC port of the original Fatal Frame. And this is big decomp energy through and through, and suddenly, Fatal Frame is making an absolute comeback in 2025 and 2026. Because we just recently got the remake of Fatal Frame 2, we have a decompilation project of the original Fatal Frame, and a PC port that is kind of in the testing phase. And I didn't really think we'd ever hear about the Fatal Frame franchise again. I kind of thought it had gone just a little bit enough out of the public consciousness to the point in time where people would forget about it. But I'm definitely glad to be wrong here, because honestly, this decompilation project is amazing, and we're going to be going over it today because it did hit 100% decompiled status. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But honestly, I absolutely love Fatal Frame. I have every game in the series, and I've always enjoyed playing them because it's basically survival horror with a pure Japanese bend to it, and it absolutely plays completely differently even if it is in the same genre. It is absolutely just one of those games. People either seem to love it or hate it, but for me, the aesthetic, the black and white usage, the limited use of pops and colors, just 100% works when it comes to that survival horror aesthetic. And if that just isn't Tofu from the original Resident Evil, I don't know who it is, but obviously it is just a bounding box to measure character movement. And moving back into the game on the PlayStation 2 version, absolutely an incredible title, and hopefully soon the PC port will be getting more improvements, because this is absolutely something that would excel on PC with some quality of life changes, because it is one of those things. The PlayStation 2 version is incredible, but absolutely if you didn't play it back in the day, it could be considered maybe a tiny bit clunky. So last time we took a look at the decompilation project, and this one suddenly jumped up in percentage. It was 52.93% decompiled. Karis was the lead dev on this, and a lot of other people touched the code as well. So on the GitHub link that I will leave in the description below, you can see each and every person that worked on it, because trust me, if I named off every name, we'd be here for like a minute. And you'll see here again, last time I took a look at it, 53.08% was nothing to sneeze at. But now it is 100% decompiled from start to finish. And if that doesn't make perfect sense, let me explain it like this. When you have a PlayStation 2 disc in your hand, that is the source code compiled to be an executable, which means that there is no source code on the disc whatsoever. Every once in a while you might get lucky and have some debug symbols there that could aid in the decompilation project, but otherwise you have to do a metric crap ton of work to get this back to the decompiled source code. You're dealing with Ghidra and a lot of other applications, just basically to figure out how you can decompile that compiled asset or code executable into its original source code. And then when you have that, you can basically do anything you want with it. You can look under the hood and see how you could actually do some exploits in the game and get faster speed runs. Or of course you could take that and code port it to the PC, which you're taking a look at some of the footage here. But again, I want to stress the fact that just because it's 100% decompiled does not mean you're going to see a PC port anytime soon. Maybe you will, but it isn't a guarantee. Because there is a misnomer out there, as some people at least, when they leave comments thinking that decompilations are just basically click and let the computer run and do it, or code ports or PC ports are basically the same in reverse. It requires so much human intervention, so much code reading and tweaking to get these games running like they would on a home console, PlayStation 2, on PC. It is literally a hard mode, but there's for some reason people out there thinking that it is an automated process. Would it be amazing one day if it was automated, we get more of these ports quicker? Absolutely 100%, but that is just not how it works. So people think when they see 100% decompiled status that a PC port that you can just sit down and play is right around the corner, and as we've seen on some N64 decomps, it can take years until it's done, but obviously on this instance, it is in progress. Hopefully we have an update soon. And taking a look at the heat map, I always love going over this. Every single chunk is in green, and again, that means 100% decomp status. And as we kind of take a look around, some things will make sense as to what they are, like 2D effects and different camera work. Other things you really have to understand exactly what the code is doing to be able to read that. But you can play around in here and see every single component, for lack of a better term, that makes up Fatal Frame. If we pop in here, this is just all about the doors in the game, whether the door can close or not, whether or not it automatically closes, and in some instances when you go into a room, all the doors can lock behind you. It's clearly indicated, but these are all of the different segments of code that have been decompiled just to handle doors in a game. That is how granular this gets, and of course if anything wasn't working right or 100% decompiled, you can end up in a situation where you need to to open a door and you just can't. So that's kind of how these things work. And again, we're going to be seeing more and more decomps, recomps, and PC ports in 2026 and beyond, because every single completed decomp leads to actually learning more aspects of it, which can aid other developers in the future, because all of these people work together, they chat on Discord, and all this knowledge is shared back and forth, and that leads to more developments quicker. It's kind of the same thing like a film set. It's always a collaborative effort, and there's no instance in which I, a 22-year veteran of filmmaking with a ton of different degrees and a lot of credits to my name, I've learned something on every single new set I walk onto, because someone's thought of how to do something differently, more efficiently, or just had an idea that's never dawned on me, and vice versa. I teach somebody something every single time I go out there, because I am a college professor of film and television, and I want to share a lot of that knowledge and information with people that might not know it. That's exactly what happens in the decomp, recomp, and PC port scene. Every single developer has a unique way of doing something, and they might actually glean some information that can aid other projects. It is just super collaborative, and I will leave a link to the Fatal Frame Discord server down below as well. Just remember, as I like to say on every video, if you do join up, be nice and polite, and say Video Game Esoterica sent you, because when you jump in there, I know you don't really represent me, but I don't want you to be mean about it either, and I get it, 99.9% of all of the viewers here would never do that, but it's just something I like to remind people. This is hype, this is excitement, and it is a fun thing. We definitely want to keep it fun. And I can't wait to play a PC port of Fatal Frame in the future. And it is one of those things, if you've never played any of these games before, I can't stress enough just how incredibly fun and different they are. There's so many different entries out there, and each and every one of them is a solid game. Some are definitely better than others, and some I have favorites on, but otherwise there really isn't a dud in the entire franchise outside of maybe the 3DS entry, which I wouldn't even say is a dud, just never really hit with me the same way that I wanted all the other games to. And as we play around again in the PC port, you see here the door opening. That is why I showed you that decompiled code on the actual heat map, so you can understand all of the different resources and assets that go into doing something as simple as checking whether or not a door can open and whether or not it is locked. It's one of those things, there's different checks in the source code just for doors, and it is a big deal. And if we go over the last bit of code here that was actually committed to hit 100%, you'll see here basically it's talking about different VRAM or video RAM memory addresses. That 0x and then the number after it would be a different memory space in RAM where something could be read from or even written to. And it's one of those things I maybe only understand about 50% of the code I am looking at here, but I do love jumping in and taking a deep dive, at least for myself personally, to see exactly how everything is put together. Because as I've said on many videos before, the making of and how things work a lot of times to me is the more interesting aspect of these decomps, recomps, and PC ports. Don't get me wrong, I love playing them and I have a fun time talking about them, but how things work, how things are made, in this instance decompiled or demade, that really is where my fascination comes from a lot of these projects, and I think a lot of you really like seeing the process as well. But there's so many fun decomps that are actually being worked on, so many recomps and PC ports that are on the way as well. I think in the next 3 months or so, you're going to see at least one big one released to the public, and in the back half of 2026, you're probably going to see like half a dozen, maybe even upwards to 10 different projects actually come out. And again, just because they come out doesn't mean they're complete. Different developers have different ethos when it actually comes to ports, recomps, and everything else like that. Some release them completely unfinished for bug testing, others wait until it's basically almost 100% perfect to release it, and then they just do a few bug fixes based upon the release. But it's one of those things. Decomps, recomps, and PC ports aren't going anywhere whatsoever, and I get a lot of comments down below with people basically saying, wait till the Nintendo Ninjas or the Konami Ninjas or whoever owns the IP Ninjas show up on these projects. Let me explain something right now, and I mean it in a nice way. This is clean room reverse engineering, and it is allowed under DMCA for interoperability and research. There really isn't anything about these decomps, recomps, or PC ports, so long as they're done in a clean room reverse engineering environment that any company could go after. And what that basically means is you're not using any proprietary information or code that would be considered protected. You're just using available tools to decompile a game that you're holding in your hand. So it's one of those things. People seem to think that this could cause some sort of legal issue in the future. Obviously, somebody like Nintendo might try to push at it, even though it wouldn't have a court case and Nintendo wouldn't really have a claim to Fatal Frame anyway. But it's one of those things that is allowed, it is amazing, and it really is, in my opinion, the future of retro gaming. This movement is basically like when you were going through the first golden era of retro game emulation, where you're just seeing things happen so quickly. We're seeing the exact same thing on the Fatal Frame side of things, on the Decomp side of things, and everything else. And trust me, by the time 2030 rolls around, and I know that doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon, but the way time moves, it'll be here before we know it. There's going to be so much fun to be had, and there's going to be so many of these projects. So hopefully Fatal Frame 2, which is in active decomp status as well, speeds up, and maybe by the end of the year you'll have both games 100% decompiled. But short of that, we are done. Take it from me, go play Fatal Frame if you never have before, and leave me your thoughts on the remake down below, because I know it's been pretty divisive. Short of that, I'm done. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.